The doctor looked at my chart and delivered the words that make your stomach drop. Your cholesterol is dangerously high. In that moment, I felt stuck. I'm 65. I thought my best years were behind me, and now this? But then I discovered a food-based approach that started with just one small handful a day. It changed everything. This guide shares the exact journey that helped me lower my cholesterol by 40 points. It's the story of how you can use the same simple principles starting today. This isn't a miracle, it's a method. It's about taking back control, one delicious bite at a time. A high cholesterol number can feel like a silent threat, a number on a lab report that carries so much weight. The advice is often confusing. Eat less of this, avoid all of that. It can sound like a life sentence of bland food. I know, because I felt that exact dread sitting in that doctor's office. The world of health advice felt like a roaring ocean, and I was just trying to stay afloat. But what if the answer wasn't about deprivation? What if it was about strategic addition, about adding powerful foods that work with your body, not against it? That's the journey we are on together today. If you've ever felt that same worry, or if you're searching for a clear path forward, consider subscribing. We're building a community here dedicated to finding practical ways to add more vitality to our years. My story began with a few numbers on a page. My total cholesterol was high, but the doctor zeroed in on my LDL number. He called it the bad cholesterol, and mine was a wake-up call. He started talking about medication, about strict diets, about all the things I could no longer enjoy. My heart sank. I pictured a future of steamed broccoli and plain chicken, a life with the flavor turned down. Was this really the only way to subtract joy from my life? That night, I sat at my kitchen table, staring at the pamphlets he gave me, filled with lists of forbidden foods. A sense of rebellion started to simmer. There had to be another way, a more positive approach that focused on what I could eat, not just on what I couldn't. So I became my own health detective. I ignored the miracle cures and flashy headlines. Instead, I dug into the real science, searching for the common ground where cardiologists and nutritionists agreed. And that's when a clear pattern emerged. What was this pattern? It was a focus on whole foods with specific, powerful properties. Before we dive in, let's clear up what cholesterol actually is. Think of your bloodstream as a highway. Cholesterol is the cargo being transported. You need it to build cells and make hormones. The trouble starts when you have too much of the wrong kind of cargo, causing traffic jams in your arteries. LDL cholesterol is the lousy kind. Picture it as sticky, slow-moving trucks that get stuck on the sides of the highway, building up plaque and narrowing the road. This is the stuff that worries doctors. Then there's HDL cholesterol, the helpful kind. Think of HDL as the cleanup crew, the tow trucks that grab those stuck LDL trucks and haul them away. Your goal is simple: fewer sticky trucks and a bigger, better cleanup crew. So how do you do that without a restrictive, joyless diet? My new mission was to find foods that naturally accomplished both tasks. The first clue I found was so consistent it was almost shocking. In study after study, one simple habit kept appearing. What was this powerful, almost unbelievably simple food? Nuts. Just nuts. I had always thought of nuts as a high-calorie snack, something to eat sparingly. But the evidence was undeniable. Research consistently showed a powerful link between a daily handful of nuts and improved cholesterol profiles. So that's where I started, not with a massive diet overhaul, but with one small, achievable change, one handful of nuts every single day. It felt manageable. It felt positive. It was something I was adding to my life, not taking away. That single shift in mindset made all the difference. It was the first domino to fall in a chain reaction that would transform my health. But which nuts were best? My research pointed me to two heavy hitters in the world of heart health, walnuts and almonds. They each bring a unique superpower to the table. Let's start with walnuts. A walnut even looks like a tiny brain, and it turns out it's incredible for our entire circulatory system. The magic in walnuts comes from a special kind of fat called alpha-linolenic acid, or ALA, a plant-based omega-3 fatty acid. Our bodies can't make it, so we have to get it from food. What does it do? This fat is associated with keeping our blood vessels flexible and fighting inflammation. Think of inflammation as a constant low-level fire inside your body. Calming that fire is essential for good health, and walnuts are a delicious way to help do that. Then there are almonds, the fiber and vitamin E hero. A single serving of almonds delivers a fantastic dose of dietary fiber, especially a type called soluble fiber. Why is this so important for cholesterol? Imagine this soluble fiber moving through your gut like a tiny sponge. As it travels, it soaks up and binds to cholesterol particles, preventing them from ever entering your bloodstream. It then helps escort them right out of your body. It's a natural cleanup process happening right inside of you. But almonds have another trick up their sleeve: vitamin E. Think of vitamin E as a bodyguard for your cells. It's an antioxidant, protecting your LDL particles from damage. When LDL becomes damaged or oxidized, it gets even stickier and more likely to clog arteries. The vitamin E in almonds helps prevent that damage from happening. So my daily handful was a 1-2 punch: walnuts for the healthy inflammation-fighting fats, and almonds for the cholesterol-capturing fiber and protective antioxidants. But what does a handful actually mean? This is where good intentions can go wrong. Nuts are nutrient-dense but also calorie-dense. More is not better. A proper serving is about 1 ounce, which looks like a quarter of a cup. For most of us, that's what fits neatly in the palm of our hand, about 7 or 8 walnut halves or around 24 almonds. That's the daily dose. It's not a giant bowl for mindless munching. It's a small, intentional, powerful addition. This brings me to the common mistakes that can completely negate the benefits. The first is choosing the wrong kind of nuts. The snack aisle is filled with nuts that are heavily salted, roasted in unhealthy oils, or coated in sugar. These are not our friends. The added salt, sugar, and bad fats cancel out the heart-healthy benefits. What should you look for instead? The best choice is always raw or dry roasted nuts with no salt added. The ingredients list should be simple: just almonds or walnuts, nothing else. The second mistake is portion size. It's so easy to overeat nuts. The key is consistency over quantity. One measured handful every single day is far more effective than a huge portion once a week. I made it a ritual. I bought a small quarter-cup scoop and left it in my bag of nuts. Every morning, I measured my portion for the day. This simple act removed the guesswork. The final mistake is a lack of consistency. The benefits don't come from eating nuts once in a while. They come from making it a regular, non-negotiable part of your daily routine. How do you turn this good intention into an unbreakable habit? I used a technique called habit stacking. You link a new habit to an existing one you already do automatically. My anchor was my morning coffee. I already made it every single morning without fail. So I decided I would eat my handful of nuts while my coffee was brewing. I placed the jar of nuts right next to the coffee maker. I couldn't miss it. Coffee on, grab the nuts. Soon, the two habits were fused in my mind. The smell of brewing coffee became the trigger for my healthy handful. What's your anchor? Maybe you can stack it with taking your morning vitamins. Or you pack them in your bag right after you put on your shoes. The trick is to make it so easy and obvious that it's harder not to do it. Keep them visible on your kitchen counter. This one small handful was my foundation. For the first few weeks, that's all I changed. I just focused on being perfectly consistent. That feeling of success was the fuel I needed to take the next step. After a few weeks of cementing my daily nut habit, I was ready to build on that success. My initial fear of a restrictive diet was gone. This was about strategic addition. My handful of nuts was the star player, but it needed a strong supporting cast. So, which teammate did I introduce next? I chose a true soluble fiber superstar, oats. We're not talking about the instant, sugary kind from paper packets. We're talking about pure, old-fashioned rolled oats or steel-cut oats. These are nutritional giants. The magic of oats lies in a specific type of soluble fiber called beta-glucan. This stuff is incredible. When you mix it with liquid, it forms a thick gel in your gut. As this gel moves through your system, it acts like that same cholesterol-trapping sponge we talked about, grabbing cholesterol and escorting it out of your body. It's a simple mechanical process with a profound effect. I replaced my usual breakfast of toast and jam with a warm bowl of oatmeal. But I didn't stop there. How could I make it even more powerful? I would cook the oats, then stir in some berries for natural sweetness and antioxidants. And guess what else I added? Part of my daily handful of chopped walnuts. This combination was a game changer. The nuts provided healthy fats and protein, making the oatmeal far more satisfying. The blend of fiber from the oats and protein from the nuts kept me feeling full and energized all morning. No more mid-morning slump. My breakfast was now a cholesterol-fighting machine. Making oatmeal from scratch is so simple. You can even make a big batch at the beginning of the week and reheat a portion each morning. This one change was my second domino. With my breakfast dialed in, I turned my attention to lunch and dinner. What was the next powerful teammate I could invite to the party? The answer was waiting in a humble and often overlooked section of the grocery store, the canned beans aisle. Legumes, which include all beans, lentils, and chickpeas, are another fantastic source of soluble fiber. They're also packed with plant-based protein and are incredibly affordable. They work just like oats, helping to lower cholesterol by binding with it in the digestive system. Plus, the combination of fiber and protein makes them incredibly filling, which can help with weight management, another key factor in heart health. I know what you might be thinking. Beans can be tricky on the digestive system. The key is to start slow and prepare them properly. If you're using canned beans, always rinse them thoroughly under running water. This washes away much of the excess sodium and the compounds that can cause gas. It makes a huge difference. I started adding them to my diet in simple ways. I would toss a half cup of chickpeas onto my lunchtime salad. They added a satisfying texture and made a simple salad feel like a complete meal. I started making a big pot of lentil soup on Sundays to have for lunch during the week. Lentils don't even need to be soaked and cook up in about 20 minutes. For dinner, I incorporated black beans into chili or simple vegetable tacos. I wasn't eating huge quantities, just a half-cup serving here and there a few times a week. It was a simple swap. Instead of an extra serving of rice, I'd have a serving of beans. This was my third domino. I was building a team of foods all working together. The next piece of the puzzle was one I had actively feared for years: fat. For decades, we were told that a low-fat diet was the key to a healthy heart. But what has science shown us since then? It's not about avoiding all fat. It's about choosing the right type of fat. My investigation led me to the wonderful world of monounsaturated fats. These are the healthy fats found in foods like avocados, olive oil, and of course, many nuts. These fats are remarkable. They are associated with lowering the lousy LDL while potentially leaving the helpful HDL alone or even giving it a boost. They help rebalance the entire equation. So I had to unlearn my fear of fat. My new best friend became the avocado. I started adding a quarter of an avocado to my lunchtime salad or mashing it onto a piece of whole grain toast instead of using butter. Its creamy texture was so satisfying. I also made a change in my cooking oil. I swapped my generic vegetable oil for a good quality extra virgin olive oil. I used it for low-heat sautéing and, more importantly, for making my own salad dressings. A simple dressing of olive oil, lemon juice, and a bit of mustard is so much healthier than store-bought versions, often loaded with sugar and unhealthy oils. This shift in thinking about fat was liberating. Food became more flavorful. The healthy fats made my meals more satisfying, which meant I was less likely to snack on junk between meals. These small changes, these strategic additions of healthy fats, became the fourth critical piece of my plan. There was one final player to add to my roster, a special guest star that would appear on my plate about twice a week: fatty fish. Fish like salmon, mackerel, herring, and sardines are famous for their high content of a different type of omega-3 fatty acid, the long-chain versions called DHA and EPA. While the omega-3s in walnuts are fantastic, the ones from fish are particularly potent anti-inflammatories. They are also linked to lower triglycerides, another type of fat in your blood that can cause problems at high levels. Eating fish twice a week was a recommendation I had heard for years but had never really practiced. I thought it would be too expensive or complicated. But was there a simpler way? I discovered that canned salmon is a wonderfully affordable and convenient option. I would flake it up and mix it with a little Greek yogurt and herbs to make a delicious salmon salad. When I did buy fresh salmon, I kept the preparation incredibly simple. A drizzle of olive oil, a squeeze of lemon, and baked in the oven for about 15 minutes. It was easier and faster than I ever imagined. This twice-a-week fish habit rounded out my nutritional strategy. I now had a complete plan built not on restriction, but on abundance and flavor. Every day, I had my handful of nuts. Most mornings, I had my powerful oatmeal. Several times a week, I included beans or lentils. I embraced healthy fats from avocados and olive oil. And twice a week, I enjoyed a serving of fatty fish. None of these changes were extreme. None required me to become a gourmet chef. They were just small, consistent, deliberate choices. Each choice was a vote for my own health. And I started to notice changes that had nothing to do with lab reports. I had more energy, my digestion felt better, I felt lighter. The fear that had gripped me in the doctor's office was slowly being replaced by a quiet confidence. After 3 months of following this new way of eating, the day came for my follow-up appointment. I walked in, nervous but hopeful. Had my efforts truly made a difference? When the doctor came in with the results, he had a look of surprise on his face. He looked at the paper, then up at me, then back at the paper. My total cholesterol had dropped significantly, but the number he pointed to, the one that made him raise his eyebrows, was my LDL. My lousy cholesterol had dropped by 40 points. 40? It wasn't a small dip, it was a nosedive. He asked me what I had been doing. I simply told him my story. I told him about the nuts, the oatmeal, the beans, the avocado, and the salmon. I told him I focused on adding good things, not just taking away the bad. He was impressed. He told me to keep doing exactly what I was doing. Walking out of that clinic was one of the proudest days of my life. It wasn't just about the number. It was about the proof that small, consistent changes can lead to remarkable results. It was proof that we have more power over our health than we often believe. That 40-point drop was a victory, but the real prize was the feeling of empowerment. The journey taught me patience and the power of consistency. It taught me that it's not about being perfect. Some days I ate something that wasn't on the plan, and that was okay. It was about the overall pattern. It was about making the healthy choice the easy choice most of the time. The unexpected benefits continued. With more energy, my daily walks became longer. I felt more optimistic about the future. It was a ripple effect that started with one simple decision to eat a handful of nuts. Now, let's address some practical challenges that can come up, especially for those of us who are a bit older. A common concern is that nuts can be difficult to chew. This is a valid point, but there are wonderful workarounds. You don't have to miss out. One of the easiest solutions is using nut butters. A spoonful of natural almond butter on an apple slice or swirled into oatmeal provides the same healthy fats. Just read the label. Look for nut butters where the only ingredient is the nut itself. Another great option is chopped or slivered nuts. You can also grind them in a coffee grinder and sprinkle them onto yogurt or salads. You get all the benefits without the hard crunch. What about budget? Healthy eating can feel expensive, but this approach is actually very budget-friendly. Foods like oats and dried beans are some of the most affordable, nutrient-dense foods in the grocery store. Buying nuts from the bulk bins is often cheaper than prepackaged containers. And remember, canned salmon and sardines are much less expensive than fresh fish and just as nutritious. This isn't about buying fancy ingredients. It's about focusing on simple, whole foods. Finally, and this is the most important point of all, everyone's health journey is unique. My story is just that, my story. It is built on strong scientific principles, but it is not a prescription. If you have existing health conditions or are taking medications, it is absolutely essential that you speak with your own doctor or a registered dietitian before making significant dietary changes. They know your personal health history and can help you create a plan that is safe and effective for you. Think of this as information and inspiration, a starting point for a conversation with your trusted healthcare provider. The goal is to work as a team. So let's bring it all together into a simple blueprint. First, anchor your day with the cornerstone habit, one measured handful of raw, unsalted nuts. Second, upgrade your breakfast to a bowl of rolled oats topped with berries and some of your daily nuts. Third, befriend fiber by adding beans or lentils to your meals a few times a week. Fourth, embrace healthy fats from olive oil and avocados. And finally, aim for fatty fish twice a week. This isn't a diet, it's a template for a lifestyle. It's a way of eating that is abundant, delicious, and incredibly powerful. This journey started with fear, but ended with hope. It proved to me that it's never too late to make a positive change. It's not about turning your life upside down overnight. It's about choosing one small thing and starting there. For me, that was a simple handful of nuts. What will it be for you? If this story has given you a sense of hope and a clear place to start, the best way you can support this channel and continue on your own journey is to subscribe and click the notification bell. We share simple, powerful guides like this every single week to help you feel your absolute best. The path to better health is not complicated. It begins with a single step. You have the power to influence your health, one meal at a time. Here's to your health, your happiness, and the vibrant years ahead. You've got this.